Mike Murray.
This is
SNL.
SNL.
By the numbers.
Numbers.
Kirby Car Chaos, Sanguine Sandman, Squirt and Squirm, Writers Right, Rock Rolls. There's the opening haiku for you. I'm your host, Mike Murray. This is SNL By The Numbers, the home of SNL stats. Tonight we are covering episode 977 of Saturday Night Live, hosted by four-timer Chris Rock, musical guest Gracie Abrams. This podcast is a presentation of LateNighter.com. And we are back heading into the Christmas show. And back with me, he's been with me 2 Januaries in a row, covered the Aubrey Plaza Sam Smith show. Then he covered the infamous Jacob Elordi show last January. Third time at By The Numbers, it's musical guest of Aubrey Plaza. Sam Smith is back with us. What's going on, Sam?
Nice to see you again, Mike. I'm still the less famous Sam Smith in 2024. Hopefully next year that changes. But another year, another second place to the official Sam Smith. Great to be back with you, Mike, as always.
All right. Well, keep making doing spots on By The Numbers. Maybe that'll happen, you know. And Tom Petty won't have to sue you.
Right.
And making his first appearance, it's my brother-in-law, Mr. Murray. What's going on?
You know something? I actually have a brother named Michael.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. So I get to do a show with Sam Smith, and I get to do a show with my brother from another, but not my real brother, but I totally have a brother named Michael. It's the craziest thing.
That's crazy. There are too many people in the world. That's the problem. We're running out of names, it sounds like.
Hey, man, that might be a little too real, Sam.
True. Sorry, I'll back off.
Well, this will be the law firm show. This is the law firm of Smith, Murray, and Murray.
That's right.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
All right.
No
So
cases.
today, December 18th, let's go back in time.
Now I just pop this chicken dinner in and send it back in time.
We got 3 shows on this date. First up, 2004, season 30. Got Robert De Niro and Destiny's Child. So with Beyonce in the building, Maya Rudolph does her Beyonce impression on the Prince show, of course. Tina Fey's famous Woomba ad debuts, and the Muppets are back at Studio 8H for the first time since 1976. We got Kermit the Frog joining Bob for his monologue, and later, along with Gonzo, Animal, Fozzie Bear, they join Horatio for I Wish It Was Christmas Today. Next up, season 36 in 2010, Jeff Bridges with musical guests Eminem and Lil Wayne, and Cookie Monster is back. So I guess this is a big Muppet day in history as well. He joins Jeff Bridges for his monologue. We have the 3rd edition of the Miley Cyrus show, Vanessa Bayer playing Miley. You know, we got Sudeikis doing, what's his name? Achy Breaky Heart. Billy Ray Cyrus, that's it. And this is a show that Bill Hader has opened up about. He had a panic attack during the live show. He's playing Julian Assange, and Lorne Michaels had to calm him down backstage. He later appeared as Stefan on Update the same night. And Lonely Island gave us the iconic I Just Had Sex digital short with Akon, Blake Lively, and Jessica Alba. And finally, 2021, maybe the most infamous SNL show because it's the Paul Rudd 5-timer show. So Omicron variant is running rampant through New York City. And the only cast joining Paul Rudd in this show, Keenan, Che, Faye, and Tom Hanks. So it's mostly pre-tapes, and they introduce old sketches. But for the first time in 35 years, there's no live from New York because it's no really traditional cold open. Last time that happened was season 11 when Francis Ford Coppola, George Wendt had that joint host episode in 86. And we got a Home Goods ad with Kate and 80. The Christmas Socks with Paul Rudd, Kyle Moody, and Charlie XCX, who would have been the musical guest. And one of my favorite pre-tapes of the modern era, An Evening with Pete, which at 5 minutes, 42 seconds, it's the longest pre-tape of the last 400 pre-tapes. And it's also Don Roy King's final episode as SNL director after 15 and a half years. So that is that day, or this day, in SNL history.
Now I just pop this chicken dinner in and send it back in time.
All right, so getting back to 2024, we had Chris Rock in the building, fourth time. Law, what's your relationship with Chris Rock growing up? Did you watch Everybody Loves Chris? Were you a fan of his stand-up and of him on SNL?
Man, like the thing with Chris Rock is when the Chris Rock show, I think it was on HBO, right? So I didn't have HBO. Like my parents, I didn't really get exposed to Chris Rock, but because I was an NBA fan growing up, like I remember when he was Little Penny. I think that was I want to say that was a Reebok commercial. So his voice was a part of my childhood before I got to actually experience him, as a stand-up comedian, as someone who was really a voice of, the culture in the late 90s, 2000s and everything. Like as I got older and got a little bit more freedom to access my own stuff, it's like, and again, later on when I got into SNL, it's like Chris Rock was on SNL. So going back and seeing his rise and how he got to be, that was cool. But I mean, the first thing that you associate yourself with Chris Rock, I felt like for me was his voice. Like his voice has carried him in a lot of ways.
Gonna be one of the best stand-up voices of all time. And I think I'm not the best stand-up historian, but gotta be one of the best or the innovators of the repetition. The guy who can drop a punchline, get a laugh, repeat it, get a bigger laugh, repeat it again, and kill. So that's what I think of with Chris Rock. Love his stand-up. What about you, Sam?
Yeah, it's so true about the voice with Chris Rock. It's, just the way he pronounces certain words or leans on certain words. He's got like a musicality to him that's just funny sounding, and then the content is also brilliant. So he's like very much like a music and lyrics kind of stand-up comedian, I think of, where it's just the whole package. I remember LimeWire days of ripping old stand-up clips from George Carlin and Chris Rock, Dane Cook. He was definitely early in my like falling in love with stand-up, and yeah, I think he's amazing. And I also appreciate his kind of rags to riches story, which if people don't know, it's very much like a Karate Kid kind of gets knocked out in the first act of his career, not doing great on SNL. And then I think he said to himself, I'm going to become like the greatest stand-up comedian of my generation. And he just worked and worked and worked and worked, and then released Bring the Pain and became exactly what he set out to be. So it's kind of got a cool arc to him. So it's always cool to see him come back as the king of stand-up.
Agreed. And it's, I mean, Law, would you put him in the top 3, at least in our lifetime? Is he, I mean, I think he's on my Mount Rushmore, but I also didn't live through a lot of the, the greats before him. But for me growing up, for some reason in high school, like No Sex in the Champagne Room, like everyone loved that song. So like, that's what I think of too, from Bigger and Blacker on HBO.
Oh my God. I'm telling you, man, the comedy album, before I forget, that was a Nike. Lil Penny was Nike, by the way. So chalk that one out to my childhood. Not Reebok. That was Nike. Just but top Mike, that's hard, man. He's in the conversation, sure, but I don't want to commit to that because
fair enough.
Yeah, man. Like there's a lot of Chris is in the conversation though, and again, like the fact that he like really put on, like he made me want to actually go through all his comedy albums. Like I can't say that for a lot of people. So he's in the convo.
For sure. I mean, Sam, you remember that like talking funny with like Jerry Seinfeld, Louis, Ricky Gervais, and Chris Rock?
I watch it every month. It's one of my favorite videos. Law, if you don't know, there's a video of Chris Rock, Ricky Gervais, Louis C.K., and Jerry Seinfeld talking about stand-up comedy for 1 hour, and it was an HBO, and it's on YouTube, I think. And it's just, it's like watching, it is like watching Mount Rushmore like talk to each other about being president. it's that kind of feeling where you just want to listen to them talk all day about it. So yes, Mike, I do. And all the comments under that YouTube video are, I'm watching it again for the second month in a row. Everyone who likes that video, I think, has seen it more than once.
Right. Yeah. So chat, everybody listening, check that one out. Great to hear Chris's story and just the process. But let's talk about him as an SNL host. So as we mentioned, he was in the cast. So going back to those days, people consider it probably the second golden era. Started off a little rocky in that era, but before that, we had Dana Carvey, we had Phil Hartman, Jan Hooks, and then comes in Chris Rock with Chris Farley. And then, of course, Mike Myers is in there. Then we get the Sandlers, Schneider, Spade, Norm Macdonald. So it kind of becomes like a third golden era at that point. And then, maybe it fizzled out a little bit. And it was maybe a little bit till we got to like the Will Ferrell era. So going back to Chris Rock, he talked to somebody in the street. They might not know that he was a cast member, but he's also a 4-time host. So let's talk about him compared to last time. So season 46, first episode. We covered on this podcast, but it's COVID restrictions. He's only on screen for 14 minutes, 23 seconds. So it's very, very limited. Most of that is, of course, his monologue. And back then, that was the first time we saw the Jim Carrey Biden versus Baldwin Trump. And that was a 13.5-minute cold open, the longest one I've ever recorded stat-wise, going back about 150 episodes. He didn't appear in 2 out of the 3 pre-tapes. So now going to this week, his screen time went up 65%. So I got his stats on the screen here. This time he had a 7-minute 48 monologue. That was a third of his night. And he overall spent 61% of his time in live sketch, a little bit in the pre-tapes. He had the Grandpa's Magical Car and the Office Christmas Party extravaganza. So that was his night. So we have for sketches, Mall Santas, Simpsons Christmas Gift, Sexual Harassment Charlie, and Gallbladder Surgery, where we had old castmate Sandler appear, and then the blind date 10-1 with Ego. So, Law, what was your favorite Chris moment, and what do you think of him as a host? Does he fit the show?
I think that's the most conflicting part about Chris. Like, I'm always excited for the Chris Rock monologue, and can we count that as part of? I mean, obviously he was in plenty of sketches, but can we count his monologue as his highlight, or we got to go with one of the sketches?
I mean, of course it's his highlight. I mean, he's doing what he does best. So if that was your favorite part of the night, I would probably agree with you. But as far as doing the host job, the monologue might be easy for him at this point because he does that professionally. But was there a moment in a sketch that you're like, oh, he gets it, or you're like, this is not it for Chris? Like maybe SNL wasn't a good fit.
As far as just hosting,
yeah, just hosting this episode, these sketches we see on the screen here.
Yeah, just hosting the episode. The Simpsons Christmas Gift sketch made no sense. And I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it. At the end, I'm like, I'm okay. I'm okay with the randomness, a complete bizarre way they put this sketch together. Like, it just felt like some dude talking about something that it's like this just why is he talking about this? And then everyone else participating like it's some kind of Pollyanna or something actually made it intriguing for me. I'm like, what is happening? But I also just was like, it was so out there and so weird and so bizarre. But because they were like together on it, I would actually came to like it. And again, I watched the episode twice, and that was where I was like, this is fun. Like, Chris is a stand-up. He obviously is at his best with the mic, just running and doing his routine, right? But I think the fun thing about Chris and why I felt like he's been such a great Saturday Night Live alum and basically ambassador of the show is that on one hand, he is that guy as a stand-up comic, but also he doesn't take himself or the show too seriously. Like, this was just like not even you. I don't think you do this with a lot of hosts, but I feel like Chris being game to do this, especially as like the central part of that particular sketch, I just thought it was fun. So I don't think Chris is the most versatile host, and it goes back to him as a cast member. Like when Chris can do Chris stuff, he's really good, but everything else, it feels like a bit of a stretch. I think you've seen that in a lot of the shows that he's hosted. He's hosted some tough shows, season openers. That season opener in 2020, really difficult. Like it was COVID, like not just COVID, but like everything that was happening in 2020. Like Chris Rock was like, yeah, I'm here, but like everyone was to see how you're going to set up the election. We saw how it was this year's season opener. Like that was super rocky because you had to bite off so much and they couldn't possibly do a good job with that. Chris has had some tough episodes, but it was I enjoy just seeing him and hearing him. And so that part, and the fact that he's such a great ambassador of the show as an alum, it's always comforting to see Chris Rock in that capacity. Agreed.
It's somebody that I think SNL should be proud that he was a cast member, even though it didn't go too well. People mention like, oh, Robert Downey Jr. has grossed how many billions with Marvel movies, but like, it's just he didn't do that doing comedy like Chris did. So Sam, I'll lead off by saying, 4-time host. I know you're a fan of him, but would you think like, oh, this guy should definitely be back for a 5th, or has he peaked now, or would you rather see one more?
I don't want to see Chris Rock host SNL, I don't think, ever again. However, I hope he does, if that makes sense, just for the completion aspect of it. And we started the episode by, I think, giving him all of his props, because the next sort of half of that is he's just not made to do SNL. It just doesn't work. And it's really interesting to think about what that is, like why someone can absolutely shine and own a sketch and get into the characters. And some people just don't have that gift. And I feel bad saying it because it's very much like criticizing someone who's like doing your roof or doing anything else I can't do, because it's like, I can't do any of these things. I'm in awe of all these people. But I feel that enough people have weighed in with this similar take to feel confident saying there's something about Chris Rock and sketch comedy that's just a total mismatch.
What do you think about a sketch that feels like it's in his voice, though? Because I definitely felt that with Mall Santas, and it seemed like his performance might have been a little stagnant, but like because of the cue cards and the blocking was kind of weird, but it definitely felt like Chris Rock could have done a white Santa, black Santa like bit on stage. So when I saw that, I was definitely game for his participation. Maybe the Simpsons sketch, we could have had a better host for that, but I wouldn't want to see another host do Chris's bit in that sketch. Does that make sense?
It does. I think something Chris does great in his comedy is smile really big while he makes people uncomfortable and sort of tortures them with uncomfortable truths. And he goes, 100%. That's right. And he just like loves and delights in just unearthing these horrible truths about us as people. And just like, it's true. So the Mall Santa thing, you're right, seemed perfect. But the problem with that sketch and all these sketches is there's a character here, this elf character that like he's not exploring. Like, why is he doing this to these people? Does he know the other Santas? Is he trying to get fired? Like, why is it happening? Like, and I know I feel like I'm digging too much. It's just a funny bit, whatever. But I think that's what separates great sketches is that whoever is in question has found the character and like the motivation. Like, what's wrong with this elf? Why does he hate these people enough to sort of torture these families? And I just think Chris like didn't know how to find that in a lot of these sketches. So, oh well, I'll live, but it's just, we're observing here, trying to get to the root of this.
Right. So I feel like there's two types of hosts. There's like the Adam Drivers, the Emma Stones, just to name some recent 4 or 5 timers who are like, they're serious actors, of course, so they can dive into a role and make it feel lived in. And then there's the hosts that just are going to play themselves. And I think Chris is that. So, sound off in the chat if you think he's good at that. He's definitely good at playing a Chris Rock type, as I mentioned in the opening haiku, is that they write for him. But maybe when they don't, it doesn't work. But Law, any final thoughts on Chris's performance just as a host, not as a cast member or a stand-up?
Yeah, I thought Sam brought up a good point. It's like he can. It seems like the sketches that he's in are the kind of sketches that would be in the Chris Rock show, like the show that he launched a part of his career on in the mid late 90s. Like the sketch with Keenan, the sexual harassment, workplace harassment sketch. Like clearly, one of Chris's favorite things to do is kind of be like a social scientist. You know what I mean? Kind of show us in avant-garde ways, I guess, exactly what our society is like, and just being like, so what do we think about this? Like, and I feel like that was really the tenor in most of the episode. So it didn't get very deep, and that's been this season in a lot of regards. But also, like Sam, I think that he's going to get that fifth time, and it'll be interesting to see who he's working with and what he's got to work with then as well.
Exactly. So let's see who did work with Chris the most, because I have the season 50, episode 9 screen time up on the screen right now. So Chris Rock finished with 23 minutes, 57 seconds. So like I said, way more screen time than his first go around, or I should say his last go around, season 46. And top of the chart here for the cast, Sarah Sherman, 6 appearances, 8 minutes, 27 seconds. So that's her third time being cast leader this season. She's had career top 3s have all come in the last 6. So Sarah Sherman's so hot right now. Following her, Ego Wodum. So Ego would have been the top screen time getter, of course, if it wasn't for a big cold open from Sarah. But we got a good amount of Ego. We've been seeing her in 10-to-1s a lot in the past 2 years. She finished with 7 minutes, 52 seconds. Andrew Dismukes, 7:21. He was on Update, of course, as the bald man. Gracie Abrams, our musical guest, 6:56 in her 2 performances. Jane Wickline, the other Update correspondent, finished with 6:29 over 4 appearances. Colin Jost, 6 minutes, 9 seconds. Nice screen time for him. Mikey Day, 5:36. Keenan Thompson, with he's had some really down weeks. This was a better one, and I think that bringing Charlie back was a good move to play with Chris there. He had 4:55. Emil Wakim, 6 appearances. So I pulled this stat out today. This is the second time this season that Emil has had 6 appearances. That's a feat accomplished only once by Devin Walker and Marcelo Hernandez, who are in their 3rd season, and never by Michael Longfellow. So Emil Wakim has already had 2 shows that on paper you could say are like a more versatile, more usage than the class of season 48. So thought that was interesting. Following him is Heidi Gardner, 4 minutes 1. Adam Sandler in his 1 appearance, 2 minutes 56 seconds. Bowen Yang, this is his lowest screen time of the year so far, 2:50. Michael Che, 2:38 on Update. James Austin Johnson, 2:25. Maybe his best appearance might have been the voice work in The Office Party. Got all the laughs there. Chloe Feynman, 2:12. Devin Walker, 1:22. Marcelo Hernandez, low week for him, 1:18. Ashley Padilla, 59 seconds. And Michael Longfellow at the bottom with 32 seconds. So, Sam, on this list, who stood out to you? Who do you want to talk about? Just general episode, this cast, this week. Who you got?
Read like a pro, Mike. I have to say, I'm always blown away by these numbers. By the way, what we're all looking at is this long list of numbers that Mike just read off, and the sheer amount of time and effort that I'm looking at right here is underneath the surface. But I'm just appreciating it and basking in it for a moment. Anyway, enough about you. I first of all wanted to say, as I'm looking at this chart, what I think is so interesting about this chart, and I think I said this on the last one, is it's like a like a recipe where the host is kind of like an ingredient that has been put into the kitchen of the show, and the show has to rally around and figure out how much of which cast member do we need to sort of season this new host and make them as funny as can be. So the answer is we need a lot of Sarah, we need a lot of Dismukes, Ego, and Keenan, Mikey, and whoever's on top, and JAJ, guys like that are put to the side for whatever reason. The writers and everyone decided that JAJ and Chris Rock we can't see working as well as these other people. So anyway, it's interesting to think about it like that. The one big thing that jumped out is that Keenan is not higher. I felt like I was seeing Keenan all over the place, but I realize now it might have been just a handful of sketches that he really owned that left an impression. So that's one thing that sticks out. What about you guys? What?
Well, just on Keenan, he had 3 minutes 55 seconds as Charlie. It was his third time doing that. Weirdly, cosmically, 5 years to the day, the last time he did that character Charlie, they brought it back for Chris's show, and then he had some good moments in the cold open. So overall, that was his whole night, was just those two appearances. So yeah, Law, what do you got? Who do you want to talk about from this week? I'm seeing the numbers finally.
Man, I don't mean to be blasphemous. I feel like Emil is on a Pete Davidson trajectory right now. Like, I feel like he is a stand-up who has gotten himself to a place early in his tenure where you can put him on camera for anything, as a big guy, as a change of pace. Like he is becoming like a real utility player early in his SNL career. And I feel like an episode like this, where it's like, get used to seeing Emil. Like, it's like, yeah, I'm used to seeing, like, if he had this kind of episode in October, it would be even louder. I feel like I think he has just gotten, I think he's gotten the writers to comfortably just put him in stuff. And so, like I said, I don't want to project too much, but it reminds me of Pete. So this episode is like the first, okay, probably not the first time, but it's one where I'm comfortable just saying that right now. So I don't want Emil to be just. Yeah,
go ahead.
I don't want him to be just like Pete. I'm just comparing and correlating, how he's progressed early on. So this episode kind of just made that kind of clear for me.
It's interesting because, people have been saying that about Marcelo, and maybe as a fan base, we do too many comps and say, this is a this type, and, she's a that, and he's a this, and all that stuff. But I like it from the stat angle because it is somebody who's making an impression early. If you think about Pete Davidson's first episode, it was on Update, doing stand-up. So we can look at Pete's career retrospectively and say, never was an impressionist or a big sketch guy, but had his moments. So maybe the usage as far as where they put him will be different. But, you heard it here first. This isn't the hot take show, but we got a hot take early tonight. And thinking about these rookies, so I'll look at the screen time right now. So Ashley Padilla's screen time so far, 20 minutes, 23. Jane Wickline, 21 minutes, 7. And Emil, 23:32. So that means, of course, Emil's got the most appearances at 29 right now. Jane at 19, Ashley at 24. But that means we're 9 episodes in. All 3 of these rookies have already passed what I'm calling the Aristotle Atari line. So 15 minutes, 38 seconds of his rookie season. And it's just such a wild stat that I haven't memorized, 15:38. So we're 9 episodes in. We haven't even got the Christmas show, and they're already putting up over 20 minutes. So Emil's in that camp, but of course, our other rookies too, Ashley and Jane. So people are starting to chatter. It's one of the best rookie classes we've seen in a while, and I can't wait to see where they end up, because to see a rookie get to like an hour of screen time would be very impressive for me to see that. looking at the rookies that we saw be one and done, and even the ones that came back. You know, we saw Punky have a really rough start, and then she caught a stride like in season 48, and then 49 you could see more of Punky, and then like, okay, 4 seasons we can look back at that. Alex Moffat, Melissa Villaseñor, those types. So I can't wait to see where they end up, but we'll find out. So any last words on Bowen, Sam, that he was lower? Was that refreshing? I mean, Bowen's my favorite, so I love seeing him, but we've seen a lot of Bowen. Not seeing him seeing him a lot less this week. Was that kind of a change of pace for you?
Yeah, no, I thought about that as I watched the episode. Just in terms of whose sensibilities are going to play best off of Chris's. And, Bowen's had some hosts who he seems to click with immediately, right? Like, and I'm asking you as someone I know has seen more SNL and therefore more Bowen than I have. But there are certain cast members that seem to almost befriend the host and become their buddy in a way. Like Sarah Sherman has this with some hosts. I know Bowen has had this with hosts. For whatever reason, it just, the writers and whomever decided that their sensibilities just wouldn't work together, I guess. It makes sense, though, because I can't see Bowen Yang and Chris Rock appearing in a movie together. Really. I don't know what the angle would be there, but I can see Dismukes and Chris Rock appearing in a movie together. I don't know what that is, but it's just something about ingredients, back to cooking. That's what it seems like.
Looking at Bowen's 10-minute plus episodes, his highest was the season 49 Jason Momoa episode. That's a surprise. Second highest of his career, 13 minutes 10 with Molly Shannon in season 48, and then Pedro Pascal in season 48. That's those are the 10-minute episodes. After that, Brendan Gleeson, Gene Smart was the premiere this year when he was JD Vance in the cold open, and it was everywhere that night, playing Charlie XCX and everything else. Emma Stone, the Elordi episode, Pete Davidson, Bill Burr the season, ScarJo in 45. So we got a lot of ride with the Bowen hosts. But I think, to your point, Sam, when you have like Charlie XCX herself in the building or Ariana Grande, they're already friends before the show, so you expect that. So let's move on though, because I want to talk about Sarah Sherman, who's just we are sitting here right now, December 18th, 2024, just at like the apex of Sarah Sherman. So I put this out there. I was ready Saturday night. I looked at her career screen time and I go, okay. And Sarah, she has a decently long appearance, and for the first appearance that she has, she's gonna hit 4 hours career. So much like tracking, Derek Jeter's 3,000th hit, which I think I was there for at Fenway. I was like, I want to know when the moment happens. And then the cold open opens up with Nancy Grace, and Sarah's playing her, had the stopwatch ready, went for it, hit the 4 hours right at the top of the night, finished the episode with 199 appearances career. So that means the first time we see Sarah this week, which I'm sure we will, she's going to hit 200. So I thought it would be a good idea to give Sarah her flowers and look at her whole career. And this will be tonight's, we have Deep Thoughts with Jack Handy. This will be the Deep Stats with Mike Murray tonight, is the entire career of Sarah Sherman. So I whipped this one up about 7:20 p.m. tonight. On the screen, you can see all the Sarah Sherman stats you could possibly want, which is her breakdown of segments, who she appears the most with. I think, Sam, you might like that one. And then what were her best episodes? And then we got the famous, line graph of her screen time over 68 episodes. So she came in with James Austin Johnson. He's at perfect attendance. Sarah's only missed 2. One of the ones was 3 years ago today on that Paul Rudd episode. So she's appeared in 66 episodes out of her 68. So before I read some numbers off, Law, go to you. Are you a Squirm fan? Are you in Squirm Nation? How do you feel about her in this mix right now?
Man, first of all, I gotta say, man, this reminds me of the lineup data we used to mess with when it comes to like who's on the floor together on a basketball court or like formations in football. Like this is just like I love this stuff. So shout out to you for even going through, putting together the castmates, all that. That Nancy Grace. Can we talk about that for a bit? Is it too
go
early?
for it.
Bro, where did that come from, man? Like I hadn't thought about Nancy Grace in so long. Like, and especially with Sarah, it's like it's not like, you know, what indication did Sarah Sherman ever give that like she was going to be doing Nancy Grace? You know what I'm saying? Like it was, again, I enjoy randomness, so like I'm with it. Her versatility, I feel like, is important because I feel like when this season started, I don't think you saw a lot of Sarah Sherman. I could be wrong, but that's what it felt like. It felt like you know, she was one of the last cast members to appear in episodes. It felt like there were plenty of episodes in the first month of the season where, you know, for the first half hour, she wasn't there at all. So this episode felt like a 180 from that. You saw her early, you saw her often, and then you saw her in, again, absolutely bizarre sketch that it just felt like she was right in the middle of when Adam Sandler was spewing blood all over everybody. So,
well, you're
like
dead on with that. The first two shows, Gene Smart and Bargatze. First episode, 1:52 for Sarah. Second one, 2:07, and then she just blew up. Has had over 5 minutes and over 9 minutes. Then a 4-minute episode with Mulaney, 4.5 with Bill Burr. Then it had a career high with Charlie XCX at 10:38. 7 minutes, Paul Mescal, and then 8:27 with Chris Rock. So you're dead on with the slow start. We saw that last year too. I think it was the one with Bargatze that she didn't show up until like way late. Or no, it wasn't that one, but it was we didn't see her till after update. There was like a couple episodes in a row, I think, last year, maybe the Pete and Bad Bunny, that we didn't see Sarah till after update. So you could be thinking of that too. But yeah, you're dead on so far with this season. But the last couple of weeks, like I said, her 3 career best episodes have been the last 6. That's crazy.
Yeah, and I just feel like she is just, you know, for one, because she's capable of just writing her own stuff, and then you kind of know exactly what she's doing. Or when she's the one who's like right in the middle of putting the sketch together, writing wise or whatever else. Like she has that. Like I really wonder what not projecting too much, like being like, what would a Sarah Sherman hosted episode look like 5 years from now or whatever. But it's like, I want to see Sarah Sherman like actually see how bizarre she can get. Like we only get, because you know it feels like, oh man, maybe there's too much, but it's like when she comes back, if she ever comes back, she ever hosts, it better be a Halloween episode, and it better be like a throwback to just pushing the envelope. Like I'm talking like back when Donald Pleasance hosted in 81. Like I want to see, I don't know if we'll ever get that from her as a cast member, but I want to see it at some point, you know what I'm saying, during the show's run. Well,
that's kind of a big topic that I wanted to get to tonight, analyzing her whole career so far. So 199 appearances, 4 hours, 7 minutes, 18 seconds of screen time, average power ranking 54.10. That's obviously way higher this year. And that's through 60 episodes on average. So I'm going to do some stats and go to Sam. But the overall topic, and I want the chat to weigh in, is just the evolution of Squirm. Because when she came in, we were thinking, this is someone that's different. We heard the term body horror a lot. We heard the word gore. You know, we know how she likes to dress. Very Pee Wee Herman show, very clown, all bright colors, all this stuff. So we knew going in that, okay, this is somebody that's not going to be for everyone, and we love it. So, but now we're seeing with a lot of departures that were there when she came in. Now that they're not there, we're seeing her do some Chloe Fineman work, seeing her do some Heidi Gardner work, some of that second, third person in the sketch, and just eating up a lot of time, which is good for her, good for the stats, but maybe we're not seeing the full squirm. So I want to talk about that. Let's talk about her segment shared stat. So if you look at 199 appearances, 163 of those were with the host. So about 82% of the time she appears, so does the host. No surprise there. But if you think about who do I most often see Sarah with, I got you. Heidi Gardner, 104 of those. So over half the time you see Sarah, you're going to see Heidi, 52%. Then Chloe, the two people I just compared to her workload this year, 96 times with Chloe, 95 with Dismukes. I feel like there's a lot of crossover there. Thinking back to her first episode, the Owen Wilson show, and season 47, Sarah had her first breakout role in the 10-1 next to none other than Andrew Dismukes. So 95 of those, 94 with Ego, 94 with Bowen, 78 with her classmate Jadge, Keenan 75, Mikey 71. So those are the cast members. Of course, they've been there the whole time she's been there, but the ones that you see her most with. And I have all 28 of her castmates of her career there. So if you want to check it out, please, go on YouTube, check out the charts here. Sam, I say Sarah Sherman. I say someone hasn't watched SNL since, the Trump years. And you say, oh, there's a new cast member, Sarah Sherman. She's like blank. What do you tell them?
It's a good question, because you're right to focus on her like this, because you're right to say that we're sort of watching a career that will be a long Wikipedia article someday, with a before, middle, and after. This is someone, I don't want to use the word historic and just throw that around, but it's certainly a big figure in SNL history, and we're just at the, barely at halftime. I like to tie people back to the family tree of the original cast. So I'm tempted to say that she's in the Gilda family tree. I
like that.
But that she, more than that, has this kind of indie, Rocky Horror sort of flavor to everything that she does. That you're either just what you either love or it's not for you. It's certainly not mainstream, but yeah, it's like hip and different. And I'm the kind of person who, I'm not crazy about Sarah Sherman. I like her a lot. I'm just not like crazy about her, but I would certainly see any movie that she directed, because she's got a vision of comedy, and I love that. So she's
be very John Waters.
Yeah, John Waters, exactly. Like someone who has a vision about her sketches, and yeah, it's exciting to watch someone who's that creative, no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a confident, unique performer, this is the show for you. So I love that Sarah's in the mix, whether that's, as I mentioned, full squirm, or that's her just being the girlfriend or just being the coworker, because she's gonna bring something. Someone in the chat said she is started off very shouty and has kind of reeled it in a little bit. So I could definitely see that. So maybe people who are initially not into her could now appreciate her more in a little bit more diluted sense. So then when she does reveal the full squirm, maybe your palate has been prepped for it. So let's look at her breakdown before we move on. Of course, weekend update. So 14 appearances. That's almost 50 minutes of her 4 hours. That's 20% of her time on SNL has been behind that desk. We haven't seen her do the, Sarah News in a bit, where it's really just her roasting Colin. I love when they brought the set out for her. I thought she had some, swings and misses and some home runs at update. I'll be honest. But live sketch, it's 2.5 hours, 60%. Pre-tapes been 44 of those. That's 10% of her time. And she appeared in 3 monologues, including the Michael Keaton monologue this year. So if you're a Sarah fan and anything we didn't say, please let me know, or some stats you want to see. Best episodes right off the bat: Charlie XCX, Chris Rock, Michael Keaton, all from this year. The Bargatze one I mentioned, Josh Brolin, shout out Shrimp Tower, Maya Rudolph last year, Keke Palmer, Iowa Debris, Travis Kelce, Rami Youssef, Ariana this year, Paul Mescal this year, Stephen Marty a couple years ago. We're going to see Marty this week. Maybe she'll have a big week again. Selena Gomez in 47. Shane Gillis. He had a lot of nice things to say about her after his episode. That was a pairing that definitely made, I think, Shane feel comfortable. Michael B. Jordan in 48, and Ana de Armas, the would-be finale of 48. So that is the rundown on Sarah Sherman. So watch out for it this Saturday. Cheers to 200 for Sarah Sherman. So moving on, we have Sam back. Sam brings a concept to this program that I kind of goes against what I started, but I love it. Which is,
tell me why it goes against it. This is interesting.
I will.
Oh, you got to introduce it first.
I started this program to say that you can't quantize what's funny, but you can quantize everything else. So Sam said, "Hold my beer."
I said,
"I can."
Beer.
So
that's right.
The last few times he was here, he did some sound analysis, actually quantizing the laughs, the reactions. So tell everybody what we're going to talk about tonight, Sam, for the Sam Smith sound segment.
So, yes, this is putting to bed the humor is subjective argument that I've been railing against. It is in fact objective, and if you use your imagination and a little bit of cheating, I'll tell you what I did is I put the audio of the sketches into my digital audio workstation, and put something called an audio limiter that sort of, just pictures sound waves going up and down as the laughs ebb in and out, and set it at a certain level, sort of a high mark, so that only the ripest, fullest, deepest guttural laughs would break through this barrier. If I set it too low, of course, everything would break through. Too high, only one or two jokes would break through. But I set it at a level that left us with, what was it? About 17 jokes that absolutely killed, and we'll call it jokes that broke the barrier. So up on the screen right now, and Law, you can, and Mike, please start to see if you can guess who came away with 6 total barrier broken jokes, and who was in second place with 5, and then down from there, 3 tied for third with 2, and then the fourth place tied for only 1 joke that broke the barrier. This, to help it along, I just want to add, this is not including update. This is not including the monologue. These are not including taped jokes. This is only live sketches, and yes, and Chris Rock is obviously included in the cast here. So,
all right. So everyone listening along, we have 1, 2, 3. So we have 7 individuals who appeared this week in SNL who had a line in a live sketch that quote unquote broke the barrier. So chat, please sound off, pun intended, to let us know, who do you think had the biggest, they killed on their line there? Because Law, I'm going to go to you first because you're in studio with us. Who do you think had 6 of these moments this week?
So I'm picking a cast member, not a sketch.
That's right.
A cast member or host or cameo.
Cast member. I'm going to go with Adam
Sandler.
Yeah.
So that would mean you think
Good
Adam
guess.
Sandler had 6 moments during the night.
In that one sketch.
In that one sketch. All right. Decent guess.
That's a great guess.
I'm going to go chalk and just say it's Chris Rock, because even though you're not counting the monologue, Sam, I would imagine that Chris was just in everything, basically. So I'm going to say him. But who was it?
The answer is, drum roll, it's Kenan Thompson with 6, who just edged out the second place winner with 6 total lines. And I will tell you guys right now, the sketch that most of these moments came from are his appearance as the serial office creep Charlie, and what he did at this horrible party the previous night, but is ultimately forgiven for. But not just that. Interestingly, too, Kenan also had a line, and it was one of 2 lines that broke this barrier that were in the Nancy Grace video. It was right at the top when he said about Luigi, you could look at him and tell he had hose. In fact, that was the first broken barrier of the evening. So give it away to Kenan Thompson once again, proving why he's
All
still
right.
there.
Was either Law or my guess the number 5, or I should say number 2, who had 5 broken barriers?
Mike, you guessed correctly. Chris Rock was in second place with number 5. We talked a little bit about the Simpsons joke, which, Law, I completely agree with you. I had so many questions about the logic behind every single line in that joke. I didn't understand what was happening. But ultimately, the audience dug it. And I was surprised because I'm re-listening and I'm like, wow, the audience is totally into this sketch. Chris Rock got most of his hits with that sketch. In fact, all of the main hits came from this sketch. Chris's in my episode, Homer hits Marge line. Cut to nighttime, me and Marge are in bed. That killed. Just Chris getting to use his weird voice and make these bizarre lines totally work. So that was number 2, Chris Rock with 5. All
right,
jokes.
I will have to mention that I'm sure a lot of that push was the actual visual Simpsons cartoon alongside him. That
I was trying to figure out how did that happen.
Yeah,
like did they get the animators to participate in this? Like that part, I'm just like I'm looking. I'm like, how did they make this work? Like, I'm sorry. I went to Universal earlier this week, so I had like written on the Simpsons ride. I was already thinking of the Simpsons, so I don't know. Like that was just in my mind too.
Law, are you getting targeted ads to your Instagram that are saying, for Christmas, get a picture of you and your family Simpsonified? Because I get them like every day. So to me, I'm like, oh, they're goofing on this ad that I keep getting. But maybe if that's not in your rotation, you might have missed it. Do you see those?
It's not, but you know what? After you post this episode, it might. That's how those
true.
things
They're
work.
listening right now.
They're listening.
I'll get a thank you note from the company. That's bizarre.
All right, rounding out the rest, we have a bunch of 2s. We have 3 2s and 2 1s. So, Law, final guess. Maybe you want to guess a few that you think at least qualified for this stat.
Yeah.
I have to say, Law, one of them you got correctly was Adam Sandler is tied for third. But go ahead.
I'm gonna throw in Sarah. She was just all over the episode. I would think that she had a multiple barrier breaking night. I would guess.
I'd have to agree, just because of the screen time leader. Got to go again with the chalk.
Sarah did make it to this list. She had one that broke the barrier. It sounds so cruel when I'm saying it, that I'm saying that she had one good joke. It's not what I mean. In fact, she had tons of jokes that did great, but one that absolutely got her over the top was the Nancy Grace raw next question moment when they're talking about viral tweets about Luigi. So people were at the bottom tied for fourth.
There was just, there was some high energy to start the night. That's for sure.
That's right.
So we had Kenan. We know we had hose and raw next question from the cold open. So, all right. So we had Sandler with 2, and then the other, I know you didn't do update because of, the parade of punchlines from Che and Jost, but I would say Dismukes because he's got to be in there somewhere. I feel like the audience loves AD.
You got it right, Mike. Dismukes to me had some of the funniest lines to me, and it showed up in the joke barrier. He got 2 here, so he's tied for third place. Number 1 was, we just remembered we're Jewish in the Black Santa sketch. And in the Simpsons Christmas gift, he gives Heidi a jump rope as a Secret Santa, and he delivers the line, I panicked. And something about his delivery just absolutely popped with the audience. So as I read them, I take all of the gusto out of these jokes. But you got to remember back to the time these guys made all of these lines pop particularly well.
All right, and we had Chloe Feynman, who had her same Simpsons sketch. So I guess we're not going on YouTube views or clicks or tweets, but if we're going for the Sam Smith sound segment, the Simpsons sketch I feel like wins because Chloe had the tampons. Now I won't have to keep buying new pants. So that was her kill right there, and also her Marge impression. So
That Marge
Sandler, like
impression
Law
was
said,
crazy.
had 2. Yeah, it was pretty good.
Took
Like,
my breath
I
away.
was like, wait, did they write this sketch just to get Chloe Feynman a Marge line?
That would actually make sense.
It wouldn't surprise me, Law. Weirder things have happened. So then we have Sandler. Of course, he appeared in one sketch, so he had 2 of those lines. Of course, just mayhem going on.
One of them about airtime, Mike, which your show almost got a bit of a shout. It seemed.
Yeah, there has been some adjacency with SNL breaking that fourth wall in my direction. So in the SNN direction with the analysis, I remember they did the Manning cast cold open to start a couple seasons ago with Miles Teller playing Eli. With playing Peyton and Dismukes playing Eli, and it was the analysis of it, and it felt like, oh, there's a time. It's kind of like one of these situations where we're doing literal SNL analysis live to the sketch on stage. So one of my favorite cold opens since we've been podcasting. And then we did have a Bowen Yang broken barrier with seriously, Charlie, it would be an honor to serve with you about being in prison with Charlie. So thank you so much for doing that segment. So fascinating, something that I would have never even thought of. So I appreciate you bringing that to the show, Sam.
My pleasure. It was fun to do. I'll do it again next time I'm on.
Yep, we'll see you next January.
Yes, when I'll be world famous.
That would be actually interesting for the SNL 50 celebration because just the applause of who appears would be probably pretty interesting because there's some people might be expected, but when we see like an unexpected cameo, I think the crowd goes nuts. Of course, that crowd will be full of celebrities, but even so. Let's move on to 5 questions. And you know what? I'll open with this one.
And you, not sure what your role in this skit is, but so happy you're getting airtime. Good luck.
Good segue there. So question 1, Chris Rock and Adam Sandler, former castmates and have worked together more in their post-SNL career. Who are your favorite SNL castmate duos? Law, over to you first.
And that's a tough one. That is a real tough one.
That could be in the show or post. Either way, whatever you want to go for.
Yeah. Honestly, man, like I think the combination of and I don't know if I want to say this is my exact favorite, but like I think that is cool that Michael Che and Colin Jost have done this weekend update thing for so long. You know what I mean? Don't hold me to this as if this is my favorite of everything. I might change my mind in 5 minutes. I just want to talk about these guys now. Like before those guys, it's like you never had I think you only had Seth doing it for a decade, right? For update. Like,
yeah, he had the record before them.
Like, what is supposed to happen with these guys? Like, I just expect Che and Jost to do everything forever. You know what I mean? Like, these guys host award shows together. Like, they both rib on each other. We are really excited to see what they're going to say to each other that get through these censors this Saturday night for the Christmas show. Look forward to a gift exchange. Again, like, there's been better duos, more memorable duos, but like as a weekend update duo, like that's just not a thing that, the fact that it's lasted for this long, 3 anniversary seasons, it's just been like, I just don't know what that's going to look like. I feel like this should be the end. Like I am very uncomfortable with like they need to figure out what the future weekend update is. Like there should be fresher voices. But I am going to give those guys their flowers as far as like what they've been doing on the show together and then off the show as well.
That's such a good call. Like, I wouldn't even have thought of that because I'm thinking too inside baseball about like sketch pairings and stuff. But the duo of Jost and Che, like, I would not want to see either of them do that job alone. You know, we saw Colin with Cecily for about 6-7 episodes, and then Michael Che comes in and just made everything better. It took a little bit, it was a little rocky, but now seeing them, just the rhythm and the way that they hum at the desk, it's one of the best stories, I think, in SNL history that's not talked about, is where they started versus where they are now, which I think is at the finish line. Sam, what about you? Favorite SNL pair or duo?
Well, Law just completely convinced me that that's my answer too. I was also trying to get deep in like, well, Farley and Sandler, but then, and I'm like, no, it's the current two Weekend Update hosts that I tune in for, separate from my love of SNL. It's almost like they've got their own show at this point. They very much feel like the seniors in high school who have senioritis and are just goofing around with each other, and you're going to miss them a lot when they graduate next year. There's a bit of that feeling. Yeah, I think Weekend Update's hysterical. I like you guys were saying, I just have no vision for what they could replace it with. Of course, they will do something, but yeah, those two and their dynamic together, I think, is will be very fondly remembered in the museum of SNL. I think that will be a big part of the exhibit. I hope. I think they deserve it.
Yeah, they're both the record holder for longest tenured update hosts individually and as a team, of course. So reading in the chat, and just some classic ones, of course, Eddie Murphy and Piscopo. You got Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi. I'm seeing, Phil Hartman, Jan Hooks, Adie Bryant, Kate McKinnon, or, any combo of those three lovely ladies. You got Adie, Kate, Cecily, did so much together. I think Pete and Chris were great. Keenan has done it with everybody because you can put him in any sketch. So you can put Keenan in any duo and I'll be watching it. But there's just so many great ones. And so thanks to everyone in the chat. Hartman and Lovitz, Maya Rudolph and Rachel Dratch, Will Ferrell, Shari Terry. That's a good one. And Jadge Mukes, of course. All right. Question 2.
If Timothy McVeigh is guilty of this terrible Oklahoma City bombing, then they should put that guy in jail for a long, long time.
All right. How to play some Norm tonight. Okay. Dana Carvey's cameo streak, speaking of Adam Sandler cameoing this week. So Carvey's cameo streak came to an end after a record 8 consecutive shows. So every show in 50 he was in until the Chris Rock show. What do you think we'll all remember about Dana Carvey's stint in season 50, assuming we don't see him again and it could change our opinion? So, Allah, I'll go to you again, too.
Man, I just feel like it's crazy that this show has had so many Bidens over the last 10 years. How the heck? Like, I completely was not. I mean, and he made it. It was actually fun to see Dana. But I'm also like, how many, this show does not trust its cast members with some of these characters, man. So I really was heartened to see Dana. Like, Dana had a tough year, right? Losing his son. And I feel like Dana's always gone through a lot of adversity, off screen. And then but you see him and he still feels fresh and fun. And so seeing him play Biden, seeing the church lady again, it's really cool that this, Dana's damn near 70 and he's still able to kind of feel like coming on the show is a fun thing for him and for everybody that he's working with. I didn't even realize that he was in every episode, I don't know how I didn't realize, but that was surprising. Like when you wrote and was like, yeah, that was a streak that was broken. So shout out to Dana, and I feel like we're going to see him again at some point. Maybe they'll let him host an episode. I don't know, but it was cool to see Dana do so much. I'm not going to miss forcing him into all these sketches as far as the Biden, but he made that fun too. Let's just be real.
Yeah, if he did host, it would be his 5th. He'd be like Marty Short this week. Sam, what about you?
Yeah.
Seeing so much Dana Carvey after such a long time. We did get, some Wayne's World like about 10 years ago, and now seeing him do Church Chat, he did that Jennifer Coolidge impression with Ariana and Chloe. So is any of those moments you think that you'll remember of like, oh yeah, season 50, Dana Carvey was like a cast member?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, you're right about the Joe Biden thing. Well, it's like we tried all these brilliantly funny people who we gave them the task of portray Joe Biden and make it funny and interesting, and nobody could do it. Jim Carrey,
I think Sudeikis
gave it
did.
to Dana Carvey. I haven't seen the Sudeikis, to be fair, but for whatever reason, it's not that Joe Biden's like such a beloved figure. It's just for some reason, some people like it don't like you just don't want to see them portrayed. Like I just get bored. It's not funny. I don't know. Something about Joe Biden, like there aren't enough angles or something like that. It's just like
Yeah, I mean, we did see that with, I think, Jay Farrow and Fred Armisen doing Obama. Was like, how do we make fun of Obama?
Right.
He's just not really a funny person. There's not a lot of meat on the bone to like make fun of this guy. So Joe Biden, in a different way. I think Sudeikis doing the kind of fun Uncle Joe thing was good. But then when Biden was president, it was definitely difficult. Carey had a whole angle that was all his own that either worked for you or didn't. But yeah, I think for sure. I mean, he did do that impression a bunch, made it fresh, made it funny at least one or two times. So not a bad answer. We'll definitely see him at 50. So we're going to go on to
his Elon Musk, Dana Carvey's Elon Musk. I loved. If you remember that.
Yeah, it does.
Jumps for joy, like the creepy Elon Musk clips. I think nailed that.
Bill Burr cold open.
That's right. That's right.
All right. Thank you, Sam Smith. On to question 3.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sam Smith.
Had to do it to him. All right. We saw 3 Christmas-themed sketches this week. Expect to see many more this week coming up that we haven't seen yet. Is Christmas the best holiday for sketch comedy? And if it's not, then what is? Sam, will go to you because I just introduced you in the clip.
That's a good question. Yes, by the wonderful Louis C.K., of whose name we don't speak anymore. However,
4-timer as well, like Dana.
One of the greats. Speaking of Rushmore. So I would say I almost think that there could be, remember those old DVDs of SNL, like Best of Kevin Nealon? You'd go to Blockbuster and rent them. I mean, I'm just assuming you both had the same childhood as I did.
Yeah, I just laughing because the last time you were on, Sam, you mentioned the Best of Kevin Nealon DVD.
God damn it. It's my only reference. It's one of my only memories of my childhood.
That DVD is scratched.
Don't want to see it. I would imagine that there's got to be a Christmas SNL. It's like almost synonymous.
Well,
with
yeah,
Christmas.
I mean, it's airing like as we speak right now. It's airing on NBC right now. So if you turn your television to NBC, you'll the Christmas special.
Oh, the Kevin. Sorry,
it's a Kevin Nealon Christmas episode.
Shit, I'm missing it. So obviously it takes the cake. I mean, the real question is what's number 2, because Christmas is so synonymous with SNL, and I feel there's got to be a lot of great Thanksgiving ones, right?
Yeah, they did a special on that last month. So, there's definitely some there. We saw some this year. Law, what about you? Do you think that Christmas is just funny? Does it work?
I think it does. I mean, I probably gave away my comedy holiday, and that's Halloween. Talking about Sarah Sherman, brought it all the way back to, like, I just feel like you can do some. I don't know. I like horrorcore type comedy, so I feel like you can do a lot with that. But the thing about Christmas is that it's not just about Christmas. It's about all the holidays, right? I saw someone in chat say New Year's. Like, that is my favorite holiday. You're never going to get a New Year's sketch, right? Like, by the time the show comes back on in January, New Year's is not even fresh anymore. You know, everyone's
Right.
like, we're back at work. You're back at work. We don't need to drop the ball again. You know, we're like, you're not thinking of the holidays anymore by the time SNL is done with the, holiday vacation. And going into it, everyone thinks about Christmas, but there's everything, and I love the finality of when we're done, we're going to have different energy the next time you see us. And that's the great thing about Christmas. That's the thing that you look forward to for an episode like this Saturday is coming up, is that, everything that you've been through, all the good stuff, all the bad stuff, all the challenges, the accomplishments, and everything that you think you might want to, this episode or this time of the year is when you're probably thinking about it the most. And if you're writing, if you're performing, you're probably in that mode too. And ideally that gives us some good comedy to work with.
Yeah, I completely agree. Thanksgiving, Halloween, there's plenty of good ones. Christmas, just the family nature of it, just the wacky people in the family, everyone coming together. My good friend John Schneider of the SNN always talks about why the Christmas episode is special is because people are home, people are together. They might be watching SNL together as a family. So, to quote Home Alone, how you feel about your family is a difficult thing, complicated thing. So that's definitely something that can come out in sketches. So whether it's about Christmas tropes or Santa's at the mall, there's just so much to go for. So no question, it's got to be Christmas. This will be an easy segue.
And when you hear ding-a-ling, that's your cue, money! Was? Yes!
And that was Martin Short with Paul McCartney in his Christmas show. Last time, he did a Christmas show. So easy segue right here. What is your all-time favorite SNL Christmas sketch? Sam, do you have one?
Okay. What I'm going to say is just because I can't think of the real answer, but I remember when Dick in a Box came out, and I think I was just at the age where it just was going to be the funniest thing I'd ever seen at the time. I look at it now and you can see all the beats. It's, a dirty song. You can see it all. But at the time, it was so funny. And seemingly crazy that they were like saying these words and they got Justin Timberlake to do it, blah, blah, blah. So I'm stalling because I'm trying to think of the real answer, but I guess I'm stuck with it.
Dick in a Box,
Dick in a Box.
Is a fair answer. I mean, it's so well done. And like you said, at the time, even Timberlake to SNL was a newer concept that kind of ingratiated him to the family. And of course, with the Lonely Island. And I mean, everyone's seen that. That's a zeitgeist moment. It's got to be #1 digital short. I think it's either Lazy Sunday or that. So, but for Christmas, Law, SNL meets Christmas. What is your favorite, not the best?
So I never saw the Glenn movie. You know what I'm talking about with Alec Baldwin.
Glenn Ross, right? Yeah.
Yes. So I never saw that movie. Okay, I'm a freshman in college and I'm seeing this, and so I never saw that scene that they had them do, like the motivating the elves for, and
always be closing ABC.
Always be closing. It was the funniest. Like I was like trying to figure out because they screwed it up. Like Alec, when they were doing the sketch live, Alec blows the line, right? Because he was thinking that he was acting the movie, right? And now
he was being his character from the movie.
Yes. And it's like now I love watching that. I love watching that sketch. I also love watching that scene, a scene that you probably couldn't get on now. There are moments that aren't as PC now. But I just love the energy of that. It is one of my favorite scenes to watch when I just want to see some some motivating material, if you will. The fact that you could translate that to a group of elves, that has stuck with me, and it's actually kind of surprising that sketch is almost 20 years old.
Wait, Law, I have to ask, Do you mean that sometimes you watch the Always Be Closing speech from Glenn Ross to pump yourself up?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
No
or
kidding.
the sketch, or the elf sketch.
Or the elf
Hey,
sketch.
honestly, I might switch it up. I might, I might get in the holiday spirit and watch that sketch again. Actually,
I used to know that speech almost by heart. I think one line that comes to mind is, "You see this watch? This watch costs more than your car." When he gets in Ed Harris's face and screams at him, it's pretty demoralizing scene. But watch through the right angle, I guess you could glean some motivation from it.
oh yeah.
And my answer is Santa Baby, Ryan Gosling, and Vanessa Bayer. Maybe just out of all the pre-tapes of the past 10 years, so psychotic, so dark. I love the tone of it. Someone in the chat also said it, so I want to shout them out. That was the Jay Morgan 2010. He or she is on my page because that's one of my favorite sketches of period, not just Christmas. And that is Ryan Gosling and Vanessa Bayer meeting Santa, which clearly it's just a Christmas party. Everyone's having a good time. It's Beck Bennett comes in the Santa suit, and they are convinced he's the real guy, and it's insane. So if you haven't watched that one in a while, I'm going to watch it tonight after the show. It's one of my favorites of all time. So last question tonight, going into the Martin Short episode.
You know what? You don't know what the hell you're talking about.
You lines.
Me? Why don't you go yourself, Charlie Brown?
Probably my favorite Martin Short SNL moment. You're a rat bastard, Charlie Brown. That's Bill Hader doing Pacino and Martin Short doing Larry David. So question 5. This week at age 74, Martin Short will become the 6th oldest host in SNL history. We already had a couple this year who are in the top 10, Michael Keaton, Gene Smart. So 26 episodes after this week will have been hosted by a host 65 years of age or older. What is something that you like about having a senior host in the building that's different than having, the next young hot star or TV, movie, athlete, anybody like that? Law, what do you think?
Well, I feel like now that people will tell people if you're a jerk, if you're hosting, the older hosts have been like better prepared to actually host a show. Like I feel like there were stories in the 70s and 80s of older hosts that, didn't leave a very good impression, didn't enjoy their time, what have you. And like you don't hear those, over the last couple decades. So there's that at least. And obviously Martin's a vet. Like, Martin Short is probably the one person from that 84 cast that stuck the most with Lorne Michaels, right? And like the fact that Lorne didn't hire him, but like they just like all of Martin's episodes that he's hosted have been in December. Like I feel like Martin's always game to do some like a fun show. So in terms of just older hosts in general, it's just like you probably don't have the most pop. It's not like you're going to get a barrage of physical comedy out of them. But I feel like they're going to at least enjoy the process of the week and have a good episode, if not, if maybe a safer episode, if you will.
Agreed. Sam, older hosts in the building. What can the writers and the cast maybe get excited about that they wouldn't for a Sydney Sweeney, Iowa Debris, Jacob Elordi, Paul Mescal, those people?
Yeah, I mean, I think older is always better. I think people that have a relationship to the show is always better. I'm all for young people, using SNL to blah, blah, blah. I mean, I'm not, as you can tell by my tone. I like the vets. I like the old hats. I like the people for whom comedy is their main thing. And when you're talking about someone like Martin Short, I don't want to be overblown with my sports comparisons here, but it is like a Jordan, like a LeBron James stepping in to a group of young players and getting to play with them, basically. I mean, if you talk about like sketch and improvisational ability, the ability to go on a talk show and absolutely kill, do characters, Martin Short is like one of the most talented comedians I think ever. You know, sort of a Robin Williams type who's just this amazing mind and ability. So he's going to SNL to play the game with them, to play comedy with them. So just how exciting it must be for those younger people, and exciting for us to sort of watch like one of the goats, you know, play in the sandbox with the younger generation. It'll be exciting from that angle.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely different older hosts. You know, there can be serious actors. You know, we did see you know, Brendan Gleeson a couple years ago. I know Gene Smart has been killing it with Hacks, the show, which is a comedy show, but people who are not really known for that outside. And you know, it can be good, it can be bad, but I think that when you have a comedy vet, all bets are off. And Sam, to your point, like Martin Short is one of these guys, because you mentioned Robin Williams, got me thinking like somebody who just never misses a moment. You could tell him the blocking is you got to pick up this glass of water. He'll make it funny. So people like that, I think a younger host would just be a little hesitant to do anything following their instincts because they want to play by the rules, which is great. You don't want to make a fool of yourself. It's live television. You're in a different sphere with vets around you, and institution of SNL. You don't want to go with someone like Marty Short, Steve Martin. They're going to be in there and just be comfortable. And when they're comfortable, I'm comfortable watching it because I'm not nervous. I'm just ready to laugh and have a good time. So that is 5 questions. We wrap up every week on SNL by the Numbers, looking at the state of the union at the show, the cast, the power rankings after 9 weeks. So we got a good data size now, and we're going to take a look at who's up top. Starting with Bowen Yang, of course, has now fallen down, but of course he's still number 1. He's at 87.3. Sarah Sherman, for the first time in her career, is now at number 2 at 83.4. So no surprises there after all the love we gave her tonight. And number 3 is Dismukes. So taking a look at the state of the cast now, I mean, can you imagine? I said this last week, but can you imagine seeing Sarah and Dismukes top 3 power rankings above Keenan, Mikey, Ego, Heidi? It just shows you that even in an anniversary show, it's a different vibe.
Wait,
so
Dismukes is number 3 in your power rankings?
Dismukes is number 3. He just had the best 4-episode run of his entire career. Going from week 6 to 9, he had 111, 104, 99, 123. So that's why Dismukes is now number 3. He's at 82.5. So yeah, I'm trying to present this on the screen. It's not really working right now, but I'm reading them out to you. Heidi Gardner, number 4, 79.7. Colin Jost is now number 5, 78.5. Number 6, James Austin Johnson at a 70.8. Ego Wodem at a 68.6. And Marcelo is at number 8, 63.1. Keenan, 58.6 at number 9. And Mikey Day, 58.2 at number 10. Law, this stat has been going on for a long time. This season has been crazy. So what do you think about top 5 being Bowen, Sarah, Andrew, Heidi, Jost?
Well, first impression is shout out to the writers. I think if you're able to write for yourself, I think if you're able to just be in a lot of things, I think that leads to a lot of screen time, obviously, a lot of just being able to have your voice consistently. And I wish I could see, I'm actively listening, but I wish I could see everything. But like, that's really my first impression is, Andrew being a writer, Bowen being a writer, Sarah, like, I feel like when you have that part of your, when you're that versatile, it's going to lead to at least a lot of exposure.
Right. And looking at Sam, Mikey Day. So last year we had the 2-horse race. It was a 3-horse race. It was Bowen, Heidi, and Mikey. Came down to final minutes of the finale to see Mikey Day hit number 1, win the season stat-wise, and now he's at number 10. So I think last time you were on, Sam, you were saying that Mikey was your favorite. So how have you felt this season? Not as the show as a quality, as a quantity, but have you missed Mikey? Like what's going on there with the vets, Keenan and Mikey at 9 and 10?
It's so clear when you're saying this how similar this is to like following a season of sports, because your lead horse will just fall and there's no real explanation for it, and it totally, you have to sort of remap your mind around the situation. Because Desmukes, I'm shocked, is number 3. Desmukes is my new favorite. Fuck you, Mikey Day. No, I'm just kidding. No, Mikey's still my favorite. I miss seeing him, but at the same time, it's like Desmukes, you can feel, just like Sarah Sherman, they've got this identity, they've got this point of view, and I hope that the stat is revealing I hope everyone in the cast is happy with the stats. I hope there's no one who's like clamoring for airtime and getting shut out, because I feel like James Austin Johnson was another horse I was betting on early on, but we haven't really heard from him in a way.
Well, we saw a lot of him early, of course, during the election cycle, and he had some great moments. So I think James Austin Johnson, before this week, was very high up. He only had 1 or 2 down weeks, week 2 and week 4. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's top 5. It would be, I think, a first for him to finish up that high. He's definitely always been in top 10, which is impressive for his whole career. But to your point, Sam, let's look at the bottom of the list. So at number 11, Michael Che, 52.9. Right behind Chloe Feynman is at 52.4. She's at 12. Emil Wakim, talked about his stats. He's jumped up. He's 13th overall right now, ahead of some of the repertory players. He's at a 44.2. Michael Longfellow's at 14th, 38.5. Jane Wickline at 15th, 37.3. Ashley Padilla right behind him at a 36.4. And at the bottom of the list, Devin Walker, 36.0. So talking about people who might not be happy with their stats, what do we think about our guy Devin right now, who's got the upgrade, had a really strong week 1, and ever since has not had an episode above 50 points in the power ranking?
I just feel like, and this is my biggest gripe, I feel like I always tend to be kind of rosy talking about the show with y'all, because, I mean, I'm here on my recreation and leisure. I enjoy the show. I'm going to probably have some rose-colored glasses about a lot of things. But I think that we can be honest about the fact that, number one, the cast is huge. I don't love the fact that we've just gotten used to the cast continuously being 15 players and more, right? So that's part of it. Number 2, we're usually seeing all the cast members by the end of weekend update. So that's to see everybody and be inclusive. I feel like it leads to a lack of quality in players standing out. It's even worse when it's a cameo heavy show. Thankfully, that hasn't really been the case post-election, but you get that. And then number 3, I think even with the cast members that get a lot of airtime, you're not seeing them establish like their own thing. Like, we're not seeing a lot of new recurring characters, recurring sketches, things that aren't reliant on the news cycle. And that's at the top of, say, your power rankings, Mike. For players like Walker and Longfellow, it's like you're shocked that they're on sometimes. And sometimes they feel like they're on and it's like a token that they're on. It's just like, hey, we're doing a sketch that's going to have 10 players in it anyway. I don't remember anything that Michael did. I think he was just in the pre-tape.
Longfellow got the dreaded waiter role in the 10-1. So Ego at the table at the blind
and we've
blind
seen
date.
that before.
He got that. That's almost infamous with the rookie, is going to be the waiter who starts the sketch, lays the scene, and then leaves. And that's exactly what he did this week. And Devin, I think going back, he was like doing the clapboard, being the marker for the Italian restaurant commercial with Paul Mescal last week. And so it's like, he got a couple good things, but really was just the pedestrian in the sketch because Mikey was the director. And of course we had Ashley and Paul being like the meat of the sketch. So for Michael Longfellow, Devin Walker, who the faith was put in them, they got the upgrade, brought in 3 rookies behind them. And now we're seeing that not only Emil being ahead, both of them, but Jane and Ashley are right with Michael and right ahead of Devin. So definitely something interesting to watch. And as we pivot towards the Christmas show, before we get to SNL 50, the cameos could get even bigger. So there could be less room for them as we talk about how good the rookies are doing. Longfellow and Devin definitely would like to see, if not a lot of volume, just a little bit of quality as like one sketch that's all about Devin or one pre-tape that's all about Longfellow. So it's my thoughts. Sam, final thoughts from you?
No, not particularly, but I will say that, sometimes I listen to people talk on the SNL network, and like a lot of times the feeling of, I wish they had more airtime, I wish they had more airtime, it gets it's hard to square it, because ultimately you can't wish it about everybody. And some of those people on the list, at the bottom of the list, it's, you don't want to say it to their face, but they're not here. So we can say some of them might deserve to be at the bottom of the list. It might not just be a question of the size of the cast. However, I will say the cast is too big, and you can tell in the sketches there are basically like duplicate characters sometimes, and they don't need all of them. They haven't made it clear that they need all of them. So I wish, just for my own mental ability to watch the show and process the cast, that I didn't feel like I was constantly forgetting people's names, because there's that many to keep track of. So I agree with that.
Yeah, it's a good point John made the other night about the two Santas and the grandpa's magic car. Like, there was some jokes that could have been said by fewer characters, but it just felt like there were more people in the sketch, so they were sharing lines rather than kind of having more of a focused group right there. So that's a case. I've been definitely praising the show for having not shutting people out. So we've never seen Devin Walker shut out once. That's crazy. Like, that's great for him. Where we saw Michael Longfellow really struggle, a lot of shutouts. Melissa Villasenor would get shut out even as a vet. Punky had some shutouts, and of course the one and dones. But Devin's always been there. He's had some good weeks, but there's just somebody that those two right there, that if they can get a weekend update spot. They did an update spot the show that I was at last year when they were playing like the new Che and Jost. Something that can introduce America to who those two are would just be great for them. It's been a while since the rookie year when they did do that and do their own stand-up. So that is the power rankings after week 9. Can't wait to see it going into 2025. Law, thank you so much for being on the show tonight. Love hearing your takes, your knowledge on the history, everything. I can't wait to have you back again. What's going on with you, and what do you want to tell the listeners?
Yeah, first of all, this was so cool, Mike and Sam. So thank you for letting me in. It's always cool to do something for the first time, and just being a part of this network has been great this year. So shout out to you, and shout out to everybody. I cover the NBA at The Athletic. So if you are interested in basketball, like we should talk basketball, I'll write and report. I mentioned to you guys I'm flying to Dallas for a road trip for that. So that is going to be my MO. But I'm excited about this week. And like I said, at The Athletic, shout out to everybody at The Athletic.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And just can't wait to have you back. Hopefully you'll be covering Celtics sometime. We can get together and, talk about 18 banners and talk about SNL. So I'll look forward to that. And have a safe trip. Appreciate you being here. Sam, what do you want to tell the people? Hopefully we see you again next year, if not sooner.
I hope so, Mike. I thank you for having me a third time. I appreciate it. And Law, great talking to you as well. What can I say? It's a cold, stressful time of year, but we have a lot to look forward to, a lot to be grateful for. So let's smile and nod and get through it. And look forward to next week's Martin Short. That I'm genuinely excited for. So I don't have anything to plug. Just watch that next week, because that's what I'll be watching.
Yeah, that's what I do too. I just plug the show, just plug this podcast. So you can find me next week. So next Wednesday is Christmas Day. So we will not be broadcasting live. We will post when the episode is available, whether we do it a little early and give it to you before Christmas or right after Christmas. So we will be covering it. I'll be on with John. Every year we do a Christmas show together. So SNL by the Numbers will be available next week, just not live at this time that it usually is. But looking even earlier than that, Saturday night, 1:10 a.m. Eastern, hot take show, Monday night roundtable, and look forward to some more everything you need to know about SNL. I caught up this week. Anticipation of Chris Rock, just absolutely amazing video work and commentary from James and John. So if you haven't checked that out, I don't know what you're waiting for. It makes you basically an SNL expert without all the work. So they do the work for you. Of course, we are a presentation of latenighter.com. Appreciate everyone in the chat. Thanks for answering my questions. Thanks for your interest in the stats in the show. Follow me at SNL Mike Murray. Follow us on the socials. We have tons of Marty Short content pumping out on the interwebs right now. Check them out. So for Law Murray, Mike Murray, and Sam Smith, we will see you very soon. Have a good night, everybody.